Good evening, guys. Good afternoon. Welcome back to another episode. I've got the man, Harry. I'm not even going to say. I'm going to let him do it.
It's your man, Harry Billion.
I love it. I almost wanted to do it. I was like, no, I can't take that. That's signature move right there. It's TLP Sports, right?
TLP SPORTS CLUB.
Awesome, man. Well, look, we had a discussion on our chat over a video that I posted, which we're going to bring up. We're going to reference from time to time throughout this conversation today about Coach Prime and what's going on there in Boulder, Colorado. A lot of people had some things to say. You were, awesome, and we had a back and forth conversation. And I was like, look, I feel like sometimes you just like texting, right? You're not going to be able to get what you're trying to say across through texting. So I was like, hey, man, I would love to have you on. Let's chit chat. Collabing's always a great time. I'm really excited about this conversation and where this can go. So I appreciate you allowing me to have this conversation with you, man. And I'll pass the buck to you, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to have this conversation. I think when you invited me or when you said let's have a conversation, I was shocked. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was shocked because most people don't extend a hand. Most people don't say, "Hey, let's have a conversation." So yeah, I think a conversation is healthy. I think if we kind of scream at each other, it doesn't move the goalposts and it doesn't move the conversation or the cultures ahead. So I want to move the cultures ahead. I'm ready for change. So I'd rather have conversations than you be in your corner saying what you got to say and the biases stay where the biases stay. I want to change that. I'm ready to put a chokehold on that old guard. I'm ready to tell them to get up out the way. Let's do this.
I love that. Yeah, and that's exactly how I felt. I was like, look, we're sitting here kind of, your perspective of the video. Obviously, I have my intentions for why I made it, and I want to make sure that we kind of we put that behind and we were able to move on. And I want to make sure that we have an understanding of like, hey, like here's what I was trying to say, here's what may have been perceived, and so forth, and kind of clear the air. So again, I think it's a great conversation. So, well, up to you, man. Ready for what you got for me?
So okay, so the part where I felt like we needed to talk about, it's because we as presenters, we as hosts, we have to do a certain level of performance in order for people to kind of buy into our message or in order for people to enjoy the show. People don't understand it's a show. You have to put on the show and you have to let people know, hey, you can't come on here and be like, all right, guys, I'm about to deliver the news and this is the news right here. I mean, nobody's going to really care about that. Nobody's going to watch that. So I understand it because I'm a showman. I'm into the whole, I'm a media guy. So I understand that you have to put on the show. I had an example that Stephen A. Smith doesn't go home screaming at his kids when he walks in his driveway and he gets there with his kids say, hey, daddy. He's not like, hey, kids, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Stephen A. Smith is not doing that. So Stephen A. Smith is like, when he gets home, he has to bring down the showman and then continue as dad or as husband or whoever he's going home to. So I understand the showmanship part of it. So, but the issue that I had with it was when you take the showmanship, right, and then you have to you have to apply certain things. The way that it was applied was my issue. The words that were being used was my issue. That's what I took issue with.
Okay.
So I had to go through your videos and I had to understand who you were, how you present, and in your videos you're like, you know what I'm saying, like I bring some of the funk. You know what I'm saying? So I understand. I'm like, I try to bring the funk myself, so I understand your standpoint. So, but the issues that I was having was when you start saying like stuff like, I'm not saying it's pay for play, but you make that decision for yourself. Let me just give you the information.
Gotcha.
When you connect those two things, it's like almost like you're leaving a question mark in people's minds. And from where we are, my community, you're white, right?
Yes.
Let's just establish that I'm black. All
yes.
right. So let's just get the animal out the. Let's just get that elephant out the room. All right. From a black standpoint, right? We have to always prove ourselves, right? We have places that are now, I would say states that are now having like Karen and Kent laws, right? And those Karen and Kent laws is because the burden of proof is always on us. We always have to be the one that actually say, hey, here is my lease, and you are asking for my lease because you have authority. I don't know where the authority come from, but you're asking for my lease. So we always have to have the burden of proof on us. So from that standpoint, I'm like, okay, if you're gonna leave an imprint in somebody's brain and say, I'm not saying that is pay for play, you can make that decision for yourself. Once I present this, now the burden of proof is now back on us.
Gotcha.
We're always guilty until proven innocent.
Gotcha.
That's just from our standpoint. No matter how you look at it, we're always having to prove ourselves. All of the Karens are always attacking us. So if I'm because of how stocky I am, if I'm in the elevator with a white lady, I'm always gonna be thinking, what is she thinking?
Sure.
So I don't, you know what I'm saying? So I made a video and I was talking about that. I was asking a bunch of questions and I'm like, we're gonna be in Colorado with a bunch of white people. I just want to know, because I'm a nice guy and I'm a cool dude. I want to know, are we going to be all right? And I asked that question. I'm like, listen, you're white. I don't know what you're always thinking, right? Not a racist thing, but a cautious thing as a man, as a husband, as a friend of other people. So people always say, hey, we always thinking, what are you guys thinking? What is it that you're thinking? And from that standpoint, that's why when I watch that video, we're always like, hey, listen, we don't want to be in defense mode all the time. We don't want to make everything racial all the time. But when it comes to certain things, we have to say, hey, time out, right? Because when you say, if I'm going to leave something like an imprint in somebody's brain, they're going to be like thinking, is he really cheating? Is he really paying for play? Is he really giving people money? Because now he's the highlight. He's the man that everybody's looking at. So if you're going to tell 5,000 or 10,000, 60,000 people, make up your own mind whether he's cheating or not, or whether he's doing pay for play or payola. I don't know, but I'm just going to give you this. And then if the logo starts to pop up around campus, then we got more issues. Like, we're piling on things. So that's where that was the point of view that I'm at. I'm like, okay, we got to caution Shelton, because I'm not sure if he's applying empathy from the standpoint of how we think.
Sure.
And that's where I was like, you know what? Maybe let me reach out and see let me check his temperature. Let me see where he's at. And then once I understand where you're at, then we can clarify some of the language that's being used. Because I know from a standpoint of a broadcaster, of a presenter, you're adjusting. You're doing your thing. You're in your bag. You're in your zone. You know what I'm saying? You're shooting your shot, and you're doing what you do. And I would do the same thing. But I just like, okay, from this empathy standpoint, let me check Shelton and see where he's at. And then we can take the dialogue from there.
So, yeah. And I think I realized once the video was out and there was comments in there, I was like, I think the perception of this is being taken further than what I wanted it to go. So my point of, like, if you watch a few videos, you see my love for Coach Prime and the excitement I have for what he's bringing to Colorado and to college football. I get a lot of flack from my guys that are been following me for a long time, saying, since when do you love Deion? What's going on here? Because I'm a Gator guy. That's my team. I'm Florida Gators. The video, look, and I think what you kind of nailed on the head is like, hey, like, you have to understand from perception of being black, like how this can be perceived. I was making a football video. You know what I mean? And I think what was misconstrued is I wasn't claiming anything negative towards Coach Prime, what Colorado is doing. The pay-to-play thing is something that has been talked about for the last 6 months. And you can watch my lives or any other videos where we have talked about it in magnitude of breaking it down, trying to understand exactly what's going on. I've watched my video a few times trying to see, like, where did I go wrong? But I'm watching it from my perspective of, like, I know exactly how I think the NIL operates, right? Not everybody has that same mindset of the NIL. So I could see where it's like, oh, Deion's only how it's being perceived is that I made this video saying Deion's only having success because Barstool's paying his players. That's not what I was saying at all. I promise you. Here's what I was saying, okay, is that NIL is now part of the game. It is needed, in my opinion, to be successful because Miami is doing it, A&M is doing it, Georgia is doing it, Florida is even doing it. We're having trouble figuring it out, right? But they have a Gator collective that I work closely with. How it kind of functions is different. But I was saying it as a positive. Like, look, we have the Gator collective. Florida does. Miami has John Ruiz, which I mentioned in the video. I was saying Coach Prime, on top of his recruiting, now has Barstool, which is like, look, hey, Coach Prime goes to Barstool and says, hey, I want to give these guys a sponsor or a brand deal. right? That's the way that it's going. That's college football. That has nothing to do with the race or any of that. That's just where college football is heading. And if Coach Prime doesn't get onto that track, which Coach Billy from Florida seems to not be doing a great job of getting on board with it, we're falling behind because we've lost out on a lot of recruits because Miami is blatantly saying like, yeah, we're giving these kids money. We're stroking checks for them on NIL deals. Now, whether it's legal, not legal, that what the NIL is supposed to be, not supposed to be, that's a conversation that we have all of the time. But the problem is it's a loophole. And if you don't maximize it and they're allowing it, then you're just going to fall behind. So that was where I was coming from. Genuinely, it was like, look, this is what's great for him because I was like, I know I said pay to play. It wasn't a pay to play action towards Coach Prime. It was just a pay to play in general. It was a generalized statement to college football, not to Coach Prime. But I realize, again, a lot of people are starting to, which is great, to watch college football because of Coach Prime and because of his excitement and his energy and his culture. The reason I love Coach Prime and I defend him and I get into arguments all the time because he is moving the needle in multiple platforms. Him documenting everything is awesome. We get to see everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, however you choose to look at it. And that's why he's criticized for every move that he makes, because when you post something, either somebody's going to love it or they're going to hate it. That's just fact. There's nothing he'll post that somebody's not going to ridicule. However, the people that do love it are going to be even more bought in. And that's the side that I've been on.
So, I mean, like I said, I understand, but what it boils down to is just the delivery. It's just the way that certain people are going to perceive certain things. And when I watched the other videos, you were actually presenting, like, you have a history of not liking the NIL. So I wanted to ask you this question.
Yep.
When you were growing up, did you ever have reduced lunch or free lunch in school?
No.
Okay. Reduced lunch and free lunch in school is something that a lot of kids need in schools. Somebody like myself who had to deal with reduced lunch and free lunch. When you have a situation where either your parents just make just enough to where they get denied for reduced lunch or free lunch, or you have a parent that doesn't make enough and you get reduced or free lunch. When you forget that lunch card at home, it's difficult for a lot of people.
Sure.
So it's a situation where a lot of people in my community, in the Black community, have to go through because we weren't privy to resources.
Sure.
So when I think about NIL, because like I said in a lot of my videos, I only came to college football because of Coach Prime. I'm an NFL. I love NFL. I'm a former football player. I'm an athlete. But college football is too confusing. There's too many things going on, too many colors. It's just too much for me. I just said, no, forget about that. I'm good. Too many bowl games. So, but Coach Prime, I'm here. We call ourselves, on my channel, we said BWB, Bandwagon Buffs. I don't make any. I
saw that you said that. I love that. Just own it. Yeah, like, hey, that's what we're doing.
I'm a bandwagon buff. I'm not from Colorado. I didn't even know where Colorado was before Deion Sanders. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not really worried about people saying, "Oh, you meat rotting," or you doing all of these things. If I own it, you can't own it. You can't take it from me. I own that. So I'm a bandwagon buff. So, but the idea is that a lot of the kids that are coming out of the Black community are struggling. A lot of the kids are coming out of situations where some of the kids have to work, while they're in college, they have to work and send money back home to their parents.
Sure.
So, but what I cannot do for you, right? What I cannot do to you is call you, is start levying stuff against you and saying, oh, you're white privilege because you never have free lunch, or you have your white privilege because you never did this. If we never come to a point where we can empathize for the other side, then we can never solve any problems. That's where I'm at. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, I empathize. I said, you say you never have free lunch and you never have reduced lunch. So you don't know what that feels like, but I can never take away your experience because I don't know you. But I'm going to respect your experience and say, okay, but hear this experience. If a kid goes to college and we understand that only the top maybe 3 or 5%, the top, I would say Power 5 schools and the top players in those Power 5 schools get these big NIL deals. You agree? So there's only a small percentage of people that get those big contracts. So we have to understand that NIL deals are basically your image. If you have a YouTube channel and you grow your YouTube channel, and YouTube comes and says, well, you cannot go outside and make a deal for yourself. You only have to we can only give you that deal. You cannot use your name, image, and your likeness. So you cannot use that. If we were to tell kids that are coming from homes where they need that money, a lot of these kids are coming from situations where they need that money. So college is expensive. You only have a small percentage of people. Not everybody that's on that field, the third and the second man on the bench, does not get that NIL deal. How is he buying books? How is he dealing with everything that has to go with college? Because me being in college, I know when the cafeteria was closed, I had to buy food. So the thing that we're not understanding about NIL is I'm fighting to stay in college. I'm fighting to live. That's what NIL is. It's like I need income to live. And now I actually have an opportunity to make a little bit of income for myself. So for the 90% of the kids that are not getting those big deals, they're only getting like mom and pop shops in their little, like a grocery store will give them, say, oh, come stand over here and we'll give you $100. So those kids are having to fight for a little bit to just maybe go to the movies. Buy a little bit of groceries when the cafeteria is closed on the weekends. They can't get no food. So for you to like say, well, I don't like NIL and NIL is ruining football for me in my childhood. You have to empathize. You have to come to a place of where you have to understand what are these kids going through? Where is NIL coming from? And how does that mean? What does that mean to a lot of these kids? College is very expensive, but we don't look at that. We look at the premier players, the elite players, and we see the $1 million and the $700,000, and we say NIL is bad for the game. It's ruining my childhood. We can't do that.
So I think you're referring to. I've said that in a video. That my childhood
several videos
of where the NIL
not liking NIL. Like you don't like NIL, period.
So there's two parts to that. I have been also stated a few times where like I like the fact of NIL because where they can make money. How the NIL was supposed to operate, how it was rolled out is name, image, and likeness. Meaning, if somebody sells their jersey, they get a percentage of that. Love that. Percentage of ticket sales, that could be a possibility. They're in school or they're playing games. They're a popular player, and then a local restaurant or whatever maybe sponsors them, and they get money from that. That's how the NIL was supposed to operate. I'm all in for that. That's where, and again, that's where the difference is. What's actually happening is what I've been saying is that it's turning more into a pay to play. In a sense, it's like they're giving these kids the Jaden Rosado situation with Florida Gators, where he was being offered $13 million. That's where it becomes an issue, because now what's great about college football and what's always made it great, and you said like, hey, I'm new to this, like you were an NFL guy, and it's the colors and all that, is you go play for the school because of the colors. You go play for the school because of the theme song, and you sing with the frats and being part of the culture of that school. That's why you play college football. And so the NIL takes that away a little bit. So from a fan perspective, yes, that's why I said I didn't like it from a selfish reason. And I've said that on open mic. I will continue to say that for selfish reasons. Yes, it feels like, look, we may lose a guy or two now because he may be a Florida Gator through and through. But if somebody else is going to give him more money, he's going to go there. And guess what? I would too. You should go there. I respect that. And that was what I was, if again, that kind of backs my point to where the whole Coach Prime video came from was, hey, he's pulling guys out of who may have played at Miami or Florida, because not only is Coach Prime an incredible place to play at, right? To play for Coach Prime, who is an elite player who has a ton of connections, but it's also, hey, we can go here and still get the money that we were going to get from Miami, right? So it's a double threat. And that was what I was meaning by it. I am in no way, shape, or form a hater from these kids of getting financially paid for the great things they're doing on the field. From a selfish reason, from watching perspective, yes, I have stated that. I'm not going to say that I didn't. But again, that was from if you've watched college football your entire life and you bleed the orange and blue or whatever team that you cheer for, you understand it from a different level of you just wake up on Saturday and it's kids going out there playing with passion. The biggest thing is like, you've heard people say, like, I watch college over the NFL because kids are trying to make it to the league. They are playing on Saturday because there's one more step they have to get to, and they're laying it all out on the line. And on Sundays, I mean, they're still laying on the line, but there's a little bit, it's different because they're getting paid. So that's where I'm at on that.
So, okay, let's clarify something for our audience. Let's.
Yep.
I don't know how many of your audience are really college football fans or they understand this whole thing that we're talking about when it comes to NIL. I think the bigger idea that you were trying to present is that the collectives are becoming a problem. That's what I ascertained from your whole your whole hatred of this whole thing is that it's the fact that the collectives are coming in and the pot is now growing. The way that I look at the collectives is a pack. It's like a political action committee, right? Where
Well,
you have.
so real quick, I don't hate the collectives. I work with a Gator collective. I have no hate
Well,
on them at all.
I'm saying but I think your bigger argument where Coach Prime came in had to do with the fact that there is bar stools putting into their collectives. There's people are putting money into the collectives, and then this collective is saying, "Hey, hopefully you know that it was 2021 that when the Colorado University or University of Colorado started their collective, they were behind for a very long time, and even like newspapers have been written that they understood the whole NIL deal, but they were doing it wrong until they started their collective in 2021. So when they started that collective, it now gave people an opportunity, fans like yourself and other fans and other alumni, to put money into this pool so that they could stop losing opportunities with these recruits, because recruits would come to the schools and then next thing you know, the phones would stop ringing or people would stop returning texts because there was no money in that pool. So that was the whole idea, and that's where they started their collective, and I believe it's called Buff for what is it called? Buff.
I don't know what the Buffs collective is called. No, I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, I got you right here. So it's called Bus for Life Collective.
Okay.
All right. So the Bus for Life Collective was started in they started that because they were losing a lot of recruits. The top recruits would come to the school, but then something would happen, and I don't know if it was because of that whole pool of money wasn't enough, and they would just leave. So that's the whole idea. So I think the people that are here should understand that if we're going to levy something on Coach Prime, we have to understand that the collective are there to educate the students, the student athletes, and to also educate the public to let them know, hey, this is no longer like the way it used to be with the boosters. We remember LeBron James with the Hummer situation. We remember LeBron James with the jersey situations. It's no longer like that. We're no longer dealing with behind closed doors type of situations. This is a pool that we're setting up to let people know this is how much money we are collecting for the university, so that when we get top recruits come in, we whatever evaluation that they have or whatever evaluation that is levied on them, we can give them this money. So there's no secret that there is collectives for all of these schools have their own collectives, which is also governed by the laws of the state. So there's no reason for anybody to have in their brain that there's any type of dirty work going on Coach Prime. I can't speak for anybody else, and I can't speak because whenever there is money involved, there's always going to be schemes, there's always going to be scandals and all of that that's concerned. The reason why I'm here is because I want to defend my guy, which is Coach Prime, because I want to make sure that nobody leaves from this chat or nobody leaves from this live thinking that Coach Prime is doing something that everybody else ain't doing. So there is no bar stools is going to be giving so much money to Coach Prime, especially when you raised the question. You was like, who's footing that bill? Is it Coach Prime? There's no way Coach Prime is footing the bill because it's the collective. The money has to go in that collective, and then from that collective, they can then distribute the money based on the valuation. That's how it works. So if your evaluation is this amount, then we can offer you this, but with negotiation, and then you have to actually do something for that money. So it's not like we just giving you this money because you're a superstar. That's not how this works. So at the end of the day, we have to put it in perspective so that people can understand, hey, listen, it's not just like Coach Prime is taking money out of people's pockets. It's just so he can get recruits. Coach Prime is going to get recruits regardless because, number one, his name is such a big name. Coach Prime is a beast. Coach Prime is not nobody Coach Prime is nobody to play with. He's not a small player. He's coming in with a lot of real estate already.
And I said that, and I agree with you 110%. And I have voiced that in multiple videos, and I said it in that video. what you were just saying about the collective, and again, I think this is where the confusion part comes in on. I'm not saying that if let's just hypothetical, if Barstool with the collective, if Barstool is funding the collective, that's okay. I'm not saying that that's
but then
wrong.
Make that clear. That's what I want to make sure that you make that clear and don't leave an imprint in your people's head thinking that who's footing the bill. Coach Prime, is Coach Prime footing the bill? He's like, no, Coach Prime is not footing the bill.
He's not.
But we understand from a presentation standpoint, right? You say who's footing that bill? It ain't Coach Prime. But if we start seeing logos pop up, then I don't know. You think about it. Though it's just the way. That's what I'm
sure.
saying. I'm not saying I'm not here to blame you. I'm just saying the jostling, the delivery, the way that we put trigger words in people's heads, it can leave something for them to walk away thinking, because like I said in the beginning of the conversation, the burden of proof is on us. We're the one that got to present our leases when a white woman shows up to our home where we're in the backyard. We got to present our lease to her like she's the authority, right? So that's why I wanted to make sure that let's not put no imprints, because now Coach Prime, people are going to be thinking, oh, Coach Prime is doing something dirty.
So I don't know. Again, I've been pretty involved with the collectives and conversations with other people that are involved with the NIL and the collective. It's been factually known. I don't know if you know about the Jaden Rashada situation, and Jaden Rashada is looking at Colorado. So I don't know if you are familiar with what happened with him in Florida, but there was a contract.
The story, no.
Okay, so there was a contract that was written. He was offered $13 million to come play from Florida. That is fact. That is known. That is everywhere you can look and Google it. Okay. That is essentially they're paying Jaden Rashada, who has not played a single down in college football, to come play for Florida. Now, how they're doing that is through the collective, right? Again, this is the loophole that I mentioned in the video. It is a fact that a third party, the Gator Collective, is also it's in an article from a reliable source, Nick Del Toro, and On3, you can look it up, where a third party basically offered, hey, we're going to pay Jaden Rashada $13 million. It's going to funnel through the collective. The collective, in a sense, is supposed to pay these people, which is the loophole through this whole NIL situation. Again,
why
what we
think a loophole?
Because the whole idea of an NIL when it was supposed to be ran out was name, image, and likeness. I think all of us as college football fans were like, look, if they sell their jerseys, they get a percentage of that. If they sell merchandise like bobbleheads or whatever it may be at a game, they get a percentage of that. If they sell tickets at a game, if once they're on campus, due to their name, image, and likeness, due to their popularity from their local fan base, right, they're able to land their local restaurant deal. Like for the Gators, for example, again, I'm really into with the Florida is they got one of the restaurants got all the linemen they sponsored all the linemen. It was like a breakfast restaurant, right? Mm-hmm, so now they sponsored them and they get a percentage because they were popular. It went into, some type of big guys eating a lot of food kind of thing. It was big breakfasts. That was kind of like
let's just make it simple. It's a sponsorship deal. That's all it is.
Yeah,
it's
sponsorship deal. So they sponsored them, right? So that's the idea of it, right? But they figured, okay, well, we can sponsor these kids before they even play it down. So now these third parties are going, hey, I'm going to sponsor that kid to come play. Well, and that's where it's like, okay, it's kind of pay to play, because it's like, well, are you really sponsoring him? Or are you just like, hey, I'm going to give you $13 million, come play. And like, they don't really ever represent the company, right? They're just saying like, yeah, I'm sponsored by so-and-so.
That's where I have to pause for you.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm here, because pay to play is being levied as something, because pay to play is a dangerous thing. You have to understand that pay to play is not a little thing you can just toss out there and be like pay to play, because it's a scandal. All right. So when you start saying there's a scandal going on, when you start putting scandal in people's heads, you start planting those seeds of scandal going on, you have to know the laws that are governing NIL and how pay for play is involved, because there is pay for play that's going on. Because it's legal pay for play. Let's just get it out there.
Yes,
right.
I agree.
But don't mix it up with the scandal. That's where
okay. So that's where I think, and again, that was I think where I was confused on the hate, because I wasn't mixing it into a scandal. But now I understand when you say, hey, when you say it like this or you phrase it like that, you leave the discussion open to where it could turn into that. So that part,
where people start thinking like, oh, Deion's out there being a scandal because who's the number one person that we are eating from right now. If you look at one of your top rated videos, is Deion Sanders video, right?
Yeah.
So we are eating off of Deion Sanders.
Yeah, I agree.
We can't spike the foot that feeds or the hand that feeds us, right? We can't. Deion Sanders is the ticket. So we got to protect the ticket. From my standpoint, I got to protect the ticket. Not necessarily just the ticket, but we don't get a lot of black leaders at this level. And then to be a man of God. Like the God, he's doing the right. You see what I'm saying? Like he's trying to do it the right way. Nobody's saying he's perfect and nobody worships Deion Sanders. But I'm just saying, we got to be careful when we start mixing it like it's a scandal. And like when you start doing your performance, I'm looking at you, I'm enjoying you doing your thing. And I'm like, he's in his bag right now, but I'm getting mad. Also, I'm like, dang it, man. If you weren't pissing me off, I would be giving you mad stars right now. Like, you know what I'm saying?
So I think
understand it.
What upsets me is that one video, let's remove that video. Yes. Okay. If we take that off my portfolio.
I'm good. Huh? If you take that video away, no. I don't want to take the video away.
I'm not. I'm saying
the approach away.
But if we take the video away and we go look at every other video that I made about Coach Prime, which I've also gotten flack for, it's all been nothing but love and respect for what he's been able to do. And the same energy.
Your perspective could be different, bro. Your perspective can have you say certain things that you may not be privy to in my community. That's why I'm here. I'm just here to check empathy and perspective. Empathy and perspective has to be understood. Because if I don't empathize with you, if I call you, rich, snobby, white kid, that's me being that's me being misunderstanding, not really understanding your personal story. I can't blame a child that was raised in a home that had a plethora of resources. I can't blame that child. They didn't ask to be in that situation. That's their situation. So their issues and the stuff that they go through is real to them. So I have to respect that to come to the table with me. So I'm like, okay. So when I come to you, I'm like, okay, I respect your perspective. If your childhood was being messed up, then let me understand your childhood. But let me see if Shelton will understand the other kids' childhood, where they're coming from places where they may not have that lunch card. They may need that free lunch. Let me see if he can understand that, so we can come to a place of understanding on both sides. I can never call you anything, because that's what we miss. My community, and I would speak for us, my community, we always say white privilege. But I'm like, if you can take one day and just look at the individual and say, what did that person go through? What issues are they having? You don't think rich people have issues, or you don't think white people have issues? Let's stop doing that, and let's see where people are as individuals, and then see where we can empathize with them, and then come to a place where we can agree and then have a conversation. That's why I'm here. I'm just saying, like, look, understand that Deion Sanders is being protected. Deion Sanders, if you say pay for play, if you say Deion Sanders is if you start putting question marks in people's head, and that's a man of God, that's a man that's trying to do it the right way, then people might go away and start thinking like, I knew it. And that's why I don't want nobody to start thinking like, oh, he ain't what he said he is, because everybody's following him. Nobody follows anybody. The scandal would have came out already if this guy was fouled.
People would have said again, I think already. That's where, again, I'm trying to say it, and I don't know if I'm saying it like the right way, but the video was never intended to be a scandal. It was more of a compliment of like, look, on top of Coach Prime dominating from a recruiting aspect to his enthusiasm and what he's able to bring to the table, and all of what he's been able to do in the NFL and his connections to the NFL, right? He also has this, which is a good thing. That was what I know people are going to say how they felt about the video, but I was not talking negatively about it. I was saying like, look, like, because that's what's happening. That's a fact. Collectives are using third parties. And I feel like I'm kind of talking in circles at this point. We got a lot of people in here kind of like frustrated and arguing like, guys, that this isn't meant to be a back and forth. And look, we should all be able to have our both sides. And that's kind of why I respect you allowing me to have this conversation. But I don't know. I feel like we're kind of spinning in a wheel here, but like, I don't know how like I could say any more of like, hey, there was never any disrespect meant from the video. And I know, unfortunately, people have already made their mind up about how they feel about it. And I can't convince them otherwise. But I know what what I was trying to accomplish when making that video, and I promise you, was never an intent to slander Coach Prime. If I was, I would have said it. I'm pretty straightforward with how I handle my situations, and because I have a video where I've called out a Georgia guy, and I'm pretty like he's like, I feel frustrated with you. I'm going to tell you, but I guess that's where I was kind of confused. It's like, look, I'm not hating on him by any stretch of the imagination, but I got where you like when you commented, it's like, look, like we have to protect him. Like if people are trying to criticize Coach Prime and think that he's not doing it the right way, you're going to tarnish the brand. But that was never the intentions at all.
Right. I don't think Coach Prime needs any defending. I don't think his legacy needs to be.
He's not going to be.
Right.
I promise you, my little ass ain't going to take him down. My one video isn't going to tear down Coach Prime.
I just want to make that clear to people in the chat. I'm not seeing the chat, but I just want to make that clear. This is a conversation that I wanted to have because I want people to understand that we cannot be afraid to face each other. We cannot be afraid to allow people to have their truth. I'm from a standpoint where I know that you were making a YouTube video. I know that because I'm in the business and I know what's going on. But there may have been some unfair attacks that came your way. Yeah. And there may have been some fair attacks that came because people didn't understand your perspective. And clearing it up is important.
Yeah,
look, so people can understand where you stand and how they're seeing who Coach Prime is.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. Like, look, it was upsetting to see because one of the guys who kind of had his frustration about it, I reached out to him like a week ago to collab, and he's like, no way now. And I'm like, well, look, man, like we can have a conversation about this. Like if you've seen every video that I made, you have to have like some sort of understanding that that's not who I am. But yes, look, and I think what you handled, it's like, hey, I'm a little confused here. Can you explain this some more? Like, let's talk about it because I'm a little like, I've been watching your stuff. You seem like a good dude, but now this video has me in question. Can I ask you, can we talk about it? And like, yeah, sure. Like, again, how I look at it, right? Deion being a man of God, right? You have to stick to yourself and like, look, I believe in what I said and when I said it, what I meant, and I knew where it was coming from from my place. So I know that's why we like on your video, like, hey, this guy's risking a lot to come on. What's like, I didn't feel like I was because like I know who I am comfortably, like what I meant by that. And I was like, look, God's got this. Like this is meant to happen, right? This is all planned and like have this conversation. But for me, I was like, only thing I can do is gain from this because I'll learn from the conversation. I'll learn from talking to you. I'll learn from people in the comments. And what I'm learning too is like, look, at the end of the day, like I said, I know who I am, and people in the comments are even still slandering me. And it's like, there's nothing that I can say that would change your mind. So if you're not even here to listen to me, what's the point anymore? But I felt I was appreciative of you to have the conversation, and that's why I wanted to have it. So I appreciate you again coming on, and we kind of talked about that early on, but I do really appreciate you coming on here and kind of again venting like, hey, here's why you were frustrated or had your concerns about the video.
Yeah, I mean, I want to tell you something about pay for play too. So there's limitations on pay for play. If we can go a little deeper to educate the fans, right?
Sure.
So pay for play. So any endorsement deal must compensate a student athlete only for the use of his or her NIL rights. So even the lawyers and even the people that are governing pay for play, they understand that govern NIL. They understand that there is pay for play here, but NIL is a good thing. From my standpoint, I know that it's ruining your childhood. I gotta bring that back up. I'm sorry, but I feel like NIL is just like you said, it's a good thing. But you want it to be at a certain point where the outside influences don't ruin the game for you. So I'm clear about that, and I understand it. But I think at the end of the day, if it's just mom and pops putting in $10, $2, $3 here and there, then what's the point of that? I don't know that it makes a lot of sense because you have to have big donors in any program, in anything. You're going to have big donors. At any university, the alumni are going to put a certain amount of money in. So the reason why they have this collective is because the law says a single person can't just be putting this amount of money in there. It's going to be questioned, just like a political action committee, right? Or PAC, right? A super PAC, where if a politician is running, one person can't be giving too much money, so they create a PAC, and then everybody can kind of pull that money together and give it to the person. So that's what this is. So let's see it as that and say, okay, if you have a question for like the NCAA, hey, NCAA, is there going to be any type of regulations that's going to cap how much money an outside influencer can put into this collective? Is that a question that's coming up for you?
Ask that again.
So I guess what I want to know is the outside influences that are really rubbing you off the wrong way.
Sure.
Is it how much influence they may have? Is it going to be a matter of who has the highest influence at some of these P5 schools that are going to have the bigger donors, and then it's going to become unfair again? So the whole idea of leveling the playing field where we can get more college football to be a little bit more equal, because you always, you were saying that Alabama's always in the playoffs, and some of these schools, are always in the playoffs. So the idea of the NIL was supposed to level the playing field. So do you have a question for the NCAA saying we need to regulate the outside forces so that we can level the playing field so that this doesn't get out of hand?
I've made that. I mean, look, I think the misconception, I have nothing negative to say about the NIL. There's a lot of positive that comes from it. But the issue is that the idea of it was for guys to be able to go to certain schools and make a certain amount of money and work off their name, image, and likeness. However, it feels like the schools with the most money are able to continue to buy the best players, and now it's separating it from the best to the worst even farther than it was before. And that's kind of where I'm at with it, because look, Florida, the collective, Florida Gators collective thrives. Like, their whole motto is we have X amount alumni. If everyone donated $10, if every alumni donated $10, or every Gator fan donated $10, we would have X amount to be able to go out there and get the big top recruits and go get these guys. Like, they're pretty vocal about it, which again, I'm okay with it. Like, I think that's the misconception too. I'm not mad about it. And that's where the Coach Prime video came from, was like, hey, here's a good thing. Like, this is where we're headed. It is what it is. The suggestion that I've made of when we've talked about it, of like kind of to the question to the NIL, is like, there's probably going to be a salary cap eventually, right? To make it a little more of an even playing field, because somebody like right now, Colorado's not going to be able to compete with Alabama just because of the alumni that Alabama has and that Georgia or Florida has, just because of the stature. They've been around longer, they're a little bigger. Same thing with was another like UCF. UCF has a hard time competing with Miami, Florida, and Florida State. Just simply they're a little bit bigger and they've been around longer, and there's more money for those guys to flow around with, right? So that's where I felt like, look, if you want it to be even and you want guys to have an opportunity, there needs to be a payroll or a cap on it to make it a little bit more. But again, that's just talk. You know what I mean? Like, that's just having a conversation on a Wednesday night. Like, how can we fix this? That's us armchair quarterbacking to see how we can make the situation better. But, and again, that's kind of from that conversation is coming from college football talk, just guys chit-chatting around. And that's where this whole thing to me is like, look, race was never a thing with me. Like, I don't look at Coach Prime and think like, oh, like, this is different. Like, I look at Coach Prime as Coach Prime. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's inspirational. I look up to him. I literally talk about like, hey, I love his style and how he carries himself, his charisma, the way he can talk when he's on camera, he turns it on. I look up to that. He's got a swagger. So that's kind of why I was taken back. I'm like, again, there's no the race part of it to me. There's nothing there from that. It was more so it just. I
don't think anybody made it a race thing. I think what people were saying, well, the standpoint was that the reason why I said what I said was we don't get too many black coaches at this Power 5 level.
No, I agree.
I mentioned black. I didn't think it was a race thing for me to say, hey, listen, we don't get too many people here. Be careful what you're saying or how you're saying it. I get what you're doing, but I said, listen, this leader is a black leader and we don't get too many. So if I made it a race thing, then that's my bad. But I wanted to make sure that we're not going to be tarnishing, number one, the man of God. I'm a Christian myself. So, and he's a man of God. So
sure,
you come for him, you come for me. And then I happen to just like the guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am not a Coach Prime loyalist to the point where he can't do no wrong in my eyes. I'm an investigative reporter just like you are, and I can post some things. If Coach Prime was to do something that wasn't really, benefiting the school, I would have to make that video. I would have to take a hard look at myself and say, okay, this is not right, or this is going on, and I'm going to have to make that video. So I'm not the diehard fan where he's not going to do no wrong. I just wanted to right the ship. I just wanted to make sure, because I read your comments and people were in there, wilding out. So I just wanted to make sure that I clear the air for you too. You know what I'm saying? I got my question answered, and then you can clear the air for yourself. And hopefully the people won't be so mad and have a place where they understand where it was coming from.
Sure. No, I agree. And John, I mean, he was one of the guys that kind of was frustrated about it. He's in here. Again, he's more than welcome to join the conversation. I asked him to join the conversation as well too, because look, I made a video.
We got a phone number, right? They can call in, right?
There's a link. It's not a phone number. It's just a link.
Okay, so let them call in. If they want to call in, let them call in.
Yeah, because look, I know it was like kind of I felt maybe that was my wrong, but I felt like you kind of like race was brought up a few times in the conversation. I was like, hey, like I want to make sure, like, look, that was never the intention here. Again, I know it's about respect, it's about showing Coach Prime love. Again, the whole video was more so about, hey, Coach Prime has the ability now to recruit even better than what he's already doing because he has this big party backing him in the collective, which every school has right now. And that's what they're doing. And until the NCAA gets a wrap on it and figures out how to kind of clean it up a little bit and tighten up the edges, the schools are going to be able to do what they want. And that's not a bad thing.
They're doing that, though.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it.
Coach Prime didn't start this. I hope you know.
No, I know. It's look, I was making a Coach Prime video because, like, we all noticed, like, Coach Prime is a polarizing topic right now.
He's the algorithm. Just
he is the hottest thing since sliced bread. Like, he's fun to talk about. Bro. Like, that's just a fact. Like, it is what it is. Like, we're all talking about it. Ain't nobody, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just fun to talk about. I don't have
a YouTube channel without Coach Prime. Let's just be frank. I'm an honest guy. I'm very transparent. I don't have an income from YouTube without Coach Prime.
Sure.
Straight up. Like, Coach Prime is my ticket right now. You know, I'm a man of God, I believe, but that was just this is my current vehicle, and this is what it is. So I respect the fact that he's feeding a lot of people. So when I look at a lot of people's videos and I see even John, like I can go to John's page and see some of the things that he's getting, you know, some of the videos that he's made after Coach Prime, boom, out of here. So that's great. We love the fact that that's happening, but I'm grateful for you accepting extending your arm, the invitation, because at the end of the day, we have to clear the air on certain things, even if it's silly, even if this is a Monday night of nonsense. Okay, even people like, yo, y'all are making a big deal out of nothing, and I bet you we probably are when we look silly up here, but.
We'll find. Look, at the end of the day, we'll learn from it, and we'll take bits and pieces of it and move forward. So, like, I enjoyed the conversation. I feel like we had to maneuver around trying to figure out each other's thoughts on it. You guys are saying, I see the comments. You guys are saying send John the link. The link's in the description. You can click it and I'll bring him in right away. So I don't know how to send it to him. Right?
Yeah, but, I mean, if John, get in here, because if you felt a certain way, I think it's important that he comes on and speak his truth, because
look, I mean, I asked him to be on, he didn't want to come on, so that was kind of where we were at with it. I mean, he made a video about me, kind of, again, that was kind of where I was like, dang, like we're all creators at the end of the day. We're all trying to make a way of this, make content, and keep moving forward. They're saying there's not a link. All right, hold on, give me a sec. I'll put a link in there. Everyone's gonna be bopping in here in a minute.
John going to bring the crowd, right? John's a heavyweight. I told John I'm after him. I'm coming for him.
I love it.
I'm coming for you, John.
That's how it should be, right?
I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you too, Sean. I'm coming for y'all. I see your channel.
Dude. I look. I love it. I support it. Like I got no issues with that. That's how it should be. Like, it should be a healthy, competitive. Like, hey, I want to grow. You want to grow. But there's plenty of piece of pie to go around for everybody to eat.
Coach Prime is making us all grow now. Listen, any video I make, Coach Prime, I got to figure out a way to put Coach Prime in it. I ain't gonna lie to y'all.
I think what people don't understand about me is I've been making content for about 7 years now. So I'm not just showing up like just
months. What are you talking about? I'm 2 months in.
That's what I'm saying. Look how quick your stuff's good, man. You know what you're doing. So I've been grinding at it, trying to get it figured out, and day by day. So.
Where's John? Yeah. Come on, John.
I put the link in, so it's there. I think he may have left. So I don't think he wants to come on. He said no to me before. So.
Jay said I need to stream on my channel too. Jay, we couldn't figure it out, man. I'm sorry. We tried to figure it out. I don't know. YouTube doesn't have the ability to stream through the computer to have two people stream. You could do it on the phone, but I was not about to hold my phone.
Look, I don't know. Like, I'll kind of like why wait for John.
Maybe we can do a part 2 of this, and then we can both.
We can go on yours. Yeah, I'm totally down.
We can figure out how we can do it on both channels.
I'll do a little story time. We'll wait for John if he's gonna hop in here. Uncle Lou, he's a pretty big channel. He's a Georgia fan. and he's kind of known for talking some smack, running his mouth, and he took a little shot at the Gators and Billy because we had tickets at Costco, and I made a video and I went off, roasting him, talking smack about him, and so obviously he saw it, his fans saw it, they were all coming at me. It was all joke and fun, but then I was on his show, he was on my show. And there's a mutual respect for one another, but like that's what it's all about. Like, and him and I even talk. He's like, I love this stuff. He's like, I didn't care that you were talking shit. He's like, come on the show, let's do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's what it's all about, is growing the channel and talking college football. And like that's kind of what it is at the end of the day, man. It's just, this is college football. Coach Prime's polarizing topic in college football. The NIL is a polarizing topic in college football. That's kind of where it was at. There was never any disrespect or anything on that. So
shoot your shot. Look, I'm all for shooting your shot. If
there's Tony the pod boss. I don't know who that is, but we'll let him in.
All right, Tony, what you got to say?
What's up, Tony? How are you, man? Welcome to the show, big guy. How are you?
I think this is something you got to keep in mind when you talk about like these college athletes. Like a lot of these athletes are black college athletes that have been in college football for years and have been getting fucked over for years. Excuse my French. When you talk about
you don't look French,
pay
bro.
for play, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you don't look French.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. You said, excuse my French. You don't look French.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like a lot of these athletes have been getting messed over for years. When you talk about, even, the past, college president, when they've been asking them like, hey, when are these players going to start getting paid? And he's like, hey, they're getting, education. And then when you get guys like, Destroyer that's on these campuses and they have $300-400 million, facilities and stuff like that. And a lot of money is going to researching, different departments in a school. Like they've really been like feeding off the back of a lot of these college athletes. So when you start talking about collectives and things like that, that's only like a small dent in what they're actually doing with a lot of these kids. So when you come on and you say like, hey, they're messing up, my college, my childhood, that's kind of insensitive, because now this is finally the chance for, excuse my son, this is finally the chance for a lot of these little kids to finally, eat off of, people that have been eating off them for 20-30 years. And now all of a sudden it's a problem because, it takes the fun out of it. But what about these kids? The fun has been taken out of it, for their families for years. Like a lot of them haven't been, eating off this. And then not only that, and then you implied that he's getting a Barstool Collective and, Gillian Wallow are, in on this. Like those are his genuine friends. Like that's part of the culture that a lot of people, especially that are not in the black community, just don't understand. Like there's no pay for play. Like these are actual genuine friends. That's what happens when you're part of the culture. Like we moved the ticket. We've always moved the ticket. So I think that's the big issue. It sounds insensitive when you talk about it messes up my childhood and stuff like that, because these players have been getting fucked over for years from these college coaches and universities, and quote unquote, they're getting an education. So they should be happy with that. Like that's a big problem.
So I'm going to respond to both parts. The first being the intent, like me saying, hey, it ruined my childhood. I said, hey, that was me being selfish. So I agree with what you're saying of like, hey, that's not right. I was like, look, that's an
old video I pulled back, by the way.
Yeah, that was way back. Look, I don't mind it. Like it's out there. So I said what I said. Like I at that moment, for me, look, you have to understand again, like what we talk about perspective, like growing up, that's how it's always been for me. And so yes, selfishly, I said, hey, this is why I don't like it. However, and I did counter it, that I do think the kids should be getting paid to play, because like you said, the colleges are making millions off of them for doing that. But I simply, from a selfish perspective of like, yes, as a fan, this is why I wasn't a fan of it, because I felt that it would take away from the whole reason why college football existed in the first place. But it wasn't, again, not a shot at it, but I'm on both sides, but I hear you.
So let me say this. What's your name, my guy?
Tony.
So, okay. So what Tony is bringing up is the reason why I try to lay out the way that I lay it out. Because I like to, if you watch my videos, I like to talk in perspective. I like to put things in a story body so people can understand, make it easier for people to understand. And that's why I asked you in the beginning, Shelton, like, have you ever had free lunch, or have you had reduced lunch? So those things matter. And that's where empathy comes in. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I'm like, if you never have reduced lunch and you never have free lunch, I'm never going to tell you, Shelton, that you are a privileged white kid, because then I wouldn't be the man that I am. But I have to understand you, where you are at. Your childhood is important to you, and I understand it and respect it. But I want you to also understand these kids' childhood
100%.
and respect where they're at, so that you can come and then apply that empathy, so that you can understand. Because once you start talking, when you start applying empathy, then you'll understand. I think empathy allows us to see the other side's heart and not just be screaming, right? Because if I say, oh, I may not have lived the way you lived, but I understand the way you live and I can respect that. And now I'm not going to say some of the things. That's why we don't disrespect the LGBT community no more by saying, oh, that play was GAY. You see what I'm saying? So that's that empathy that we have to apply to respect people's culture and respect people's ways of life, so that we can understand and say, okay, you know what? I respect that. I'm not going to touch that. You know what? For years, I've been saying, yo, that's GAY. That's GAY. Now we got to say, you know what? If it hurts you, let's come to a place where I can acknowledge the fact that it hurts you and move on. Because if you never had reduced lunch, you would never know that at the end of the day, some of these kids are working to send money home in college.
Yeah.
Look, some of these kids are really working to send money home. So if they get a few dollars, you have to understand, Friday nights, people want to go to the movies. I'm not staying in my dorm, because now I can actually use my name, my name, image, and likeness. I can use my name, image, and likeness and get like $10 or $50 from a grocery store and go to the movies with my friends when everybody else is going out and go out. And a lot of, like Tony's saying, a lot of these black kids, a lot of the top tier players are black, and they're people of color, and they're coming from situations that are not conducive to what you may be used to. Again, I'm not saying what you're doing, what you did was wrong, but I'm just saying, understand where they're coming from, and let's allow this conversation to be like, oh, okay, the NIL is helping a lot of people, but I have to understand it from their point of view.
And I think that's I said that that's where I'm kind of confused, because again, I don't have any negative ill will towards the NIL. I think
I don't want us to beat the horse. I'm just saying. I'm just answering what Tony.
Yeah, look, I hear you. I'm in agreement. Like I think it is great. I think it needs to be managed, so it's not just kind of the wild, wild west. That's just straight college football talk. Like, I mean, that's just, again, not. I think we're kind of going a little bit into it a little much.
But what I would ask is, what exactly is wrong with it? I mean, that colleges that they don't feel comfortable with, kids asking for more money. They do the same thing in the NFL. I mean, when you look at like other, and I don't want to make this about a race, but we have to look at facts when we start talking about stuff like this. You look at black sports like football and basketball. You can't go from high school directly into the pros. You can't do it. And MLB, they even got feeder systems, but you can go from high school. In hockey, you can go from high school and you can feed your family immediately. A lot of these kids can't do that. Whether you want to make it about race or anything like that, like, it really is about race. A lot of these kids, like, they finally have the opportunity to control their own destiny. They finally have the opportunity to ask for some of that money back. Even, we can, make a thing about, the 13 million that Jada Rashada was asking for from Florida. That's nothing in comparison to what the university is making off these athletes a year. Like, that's nothing. That's not even a dent. That's not even 1%. And most of the time, that's not even coming from the university. When we talk about name, image, and likeness, universities are feeding off of, jersey sales. They're feeding off of, ticket sales. They're feeding off of, even, when we talk about like Coach Prime, let's use him for an example. They're building a new hotel in Colorado now. That's the Prime effect. Like, stuff like that happens. You're going to make that money back tenfold in different places. Like, the universities are feeding off of these kids and they're not getting anything. 13 million is nothing. I don't have a problem with that. If you want better kids, if you want these kids to go to university, do what Prime is doing. People do all this crazy talking about Prime is paying for this, he's paying for that. Kids want the opportunity to play for one of the greatest players of all time. I believe it was, Tim Brewster, the guy that everybody's making fun of online. He said it, and it was 100% true. He's the only coach, and nobody else can say this. He's the only Power 5 coach with a gold jacket. Kids are aware of that. They want to play in the NFL. That's their lifelong dream. to play in the NFL. So when you have a guy like Coach Prime, who's it's not just about Coach Prime. He has one of the best coaching staffs assembled. When you looked at that video, they have a video on Well Off Media, and he talks about his entire staff. Dennis Thurman, between pros and college, 27 years. So many other guys, I keep going on and on, that are on his staff. Like Coach Prime understands like how to actually recruit. It's not about the money. He's giving Colorado discounts every year. When you talk about college athletes.
Can I ask you a question real quick, Tony?
Go ahead.
How many videos of mine have you watched?
I watched quite a few, about 5 or 6.
Which ones?
I definitely watched that one about bar stools.
Okay.
I watched your most recent when you were talking about Prime. Oh, let me get my little one out of here. I watched quite a few of your videos. And that's the only thing that upset me when you start talking about, the pay-for-play thing. And, I think he may have a deal with bar stools. Like, yeah, that is a little upsetting because that's not totally accurate. And even if it is the case, it's like, what's wrong with these kids asking for more money? Like, this is not a fantasy.
I think
that's where to us, but it's real life to them.
I think that's where the misconception came from. Is like I didn't have a problem with it, nor did I say there was a problem with it. I think
he's made it clear.
Cut everybody off. Is I'm in the room?
Yeah, you're here.
You here?
You're in here.
All right. What's going on, everybody?
What up?
What's
You
up,
got
man?
the Cardinals on, right?
What up, bro?
Yeah, bro. I'm from St. Louis.
St. Louis, that's what up. Yeah, I think to move the conversation forward, I think he's made his point. Like,
all right, I'm going down, bro.
Look.
You out, Tony?
I didn't see none of the show, bro. My subscribers was hitting me up telling me to come on this show, bro, because they didn't like the way the direction of the show was going. I'm chilling at the crib, but when liquidation game call, I come. And so they was telling me they didn't like the way that the conversation was going about the Coach Prime video. Now,
so I think you know why I think they're saying that?
Why?
Because we're being responsible. We're not here shouting at each other. I'm not trying to blame Shelton. I'm allowing him to speak. This is not going to be a shouting match. It's not going to be.
Bro, who is you talking to, bro?
No,
I don't need your help to tell me how to talk to anybody, bro.
I'm not telling you how to talk.
I'm not shouting at anybody.
I said them. I said why they,
bro.
Give me a
who
second.
is you to tell me how to talk?
I didn't tell you how to talk. I said they. I'm telling you why they want you to.
I already know that. I'm very professional, bro.
I'm not talking about you personally. I don't know you. We just met. I'm trying to let you know that if they're saying that they don't like the way that it's going, a few people have already commented not for me to come on this show. A few people have already said, don't come talk to Shelton. So when people are saying, yo, I don't like the way that this is going, I can only imagine they're thinking that I'm going to come on here and start screaming at Shelton, because we have to understand that when you and somebody are having a conversation, you give them an opportunity to talk. You give them an opportunity to hear them out. If they're saying that this is not what this is, then you can further the conversation, or you can move the dialogue down, or you can continue to bicker. So I just want to know that. I just want to make sure that people are clear about that. I don't want to. I'm not. What am I gonna say about you? I haven't even heard you.
Oh well, I'm sorry.
I wasn't saying anything about you.
But I felt like you was like referring what you was saying towards me.
I said
I was going to come in here yelling at Shelton.
No, I didn't say you want to yell.
I just didn't like.
I was just saying that you say your people said come because they don't like the way the conversation is going. And
I wanted to come on here to talk to Hilltop. No disrespect to you, TLP Sports. I love your channel. I love what you do. But I came on here to
high top.
Shelton.
High top, not Hilltop.
Oh, my bad, bro. It's a St. Louis thing, bro.
Just kidding.
My bad. But mainly, bro, I made the video in regards to your video, but it wasn't about race, bro. It wasn't about race. It was about.
I didn't say your video wasn't about race. No, I think our conversation, Harry's and I conversation kind of went towards that direction, but I know your video wasn't about race.
Oh, okay.
The conversation kind of.
I didn't. Okay.
No, it leaned that way based on our conversation, but I don't think. I think you were coming. Your video came at me that I was being disrespectful and not understanding the culture because of the podcast that was on there. That was what you referenced towards, but
right.
And I understood that, but again, I wasn't trying to slander any culture or anything. I was simply just connecting dots, and that's all that I was doing. Of like, hey, like, look, it wouldn't it wouldn't be too crazy if Barstool was backing Colorado. And if they were, good. That's not negative. I think that's where this whole thing kind of went off the rails. And that's why when you commented on my video, I said, hey, let's talk about it, because I don't think you're understanding where I'm coming from.
I definitely understood exactly where you was coming from, but
okay,
for you to make videos in the past, bigging up Coach Prime, then turn around and try to slander his name, now you're looking like you're reaching for views, bro. I just got to call you out on it.
But I think that's where I'm confused, because you said that in your video that I flipped it, but I wasn't flipping it. I wasn't.
You clearly flipped it, bro. You clearly flipped it. The world synced it.
Well, that's where I'm like, look, if you're not gonna let me explain myself, then your mind's already made up. I can't convince you otherwise. But I know what I meant when I made the video, and that's what we were talking about in here. But there was never any intent to slander his name. And if you don't want to believe that, then I can't. Then the conversation's over. That's
I guess it's done, bro.
I came on here. John, I got a question for you.
Huh? But if you're coming on here, you're coming on here just to tell me that I'm wrong, but not hear me out. So that's not a conversation. You're just saying like, no, you went to slander. I go, no, I think, well, yeah, you did. Then how is that coming on here? You're just coming on here to say like, oh, I told him what's up. That's not a conversation. That's not moving the needle. That's not having a healthy, positive conversation or understanding, hey, what did you mean by that? Because you took the time to make a video to slander another creator, which I've never done. I haven't done that.
You slandered yourself, bro, when you made the video.
I got a question for you, John.
What's up?
All right, so do me a favor. Lay out your argument for Shelton. Lay out your argument like in a precise way, so that we can understand, so that the people that are in here can understand. So that way you don't just go and be like, then people thinking you're just mad. I don't think you're just mad. I think you have a point. Let's hear your point.
Look, bro, I'm not mad. I'm not agitated or none of that. I just think Shelton as a friend at one point. We was talking about doing a collab. Facts, and I thought he was cool. Like I've never seen any ill will towards him or see him do anything out of character or out of content that was bad. Now when he made that video, it was late at night. I looked at the video. I got the notification, instantly clicked on it, looked at it. My reason in disliking the video was because he went at Coach Prime as if he was paying players to come there using $1 million worth of game platform, not knowing that $1 million worth of game platform is a cultural platform. Kamani McClain was the complete algorithm that week he went on there. Everybody made videos about Kamani that whole week. $1 million worth of game is another YouTube platform that has to get views, just like I do, you do, and High Top do. Now, it makes the most sense for him to go on that platform for what? Views. Not because they're backed by Barstools. They brought him on there for the views. And that's all it was. But going back to why I disliked the video, I just didn't like the way he had presented it in regards to Travis, saying that Travis had got a Barstool deal when Travis clearly did not have a Barstool deal.
I stated that in the video. I stated in the video that has came out. It's in it. You can go watch it. It's
been proven.
Let him lay it all out. Let him lay it all out. Then you can respond. Just lay it all out, bro.
Who, John?
Yeah, John. Just lay it all out.
Go ahead, John.
No. I'm done. It's your channel. Go ahead. I'm quiet.
So to the Travis point, I say like, hey, the Travis thing was debunked that he's not being paid. Even if here's the thing. Here's where I'm confused. Even if he is being paid, he should be getting paid. I'm okay with that. That's where the whole confusion is. Like, look, like if we don't think these kids aren't getting paid, we're crazy. They should be getting paid, but they're still having to hide it a little bit because there is rules they have to follow. That is a fact. The collective that we've been talking about this entire time just can't go and hand Travis Hunter $1 million. The collective does not have it. The collective is a functioning funnel that allows for people to pay the collective to pay Travis Hunter and these players. Again, as they should. I'm 100% on board. What I was stating was that why Coach Prime is going to be even more successful, right? Because he has I'm making connections, right? I was doing investigative work. When I made the investigative work about Kermani committing to Colorado, I did the same thing. Like, look, if you just look at this, and this, things start to add up. So by him being on the $1 million podcast, I realized like, wow, that podcast is powered by Barstool. That's kind of interesting. It could be the fact that, look, they're friends and it's a culture thing as well, too. But it also kind of just linked up. It's like, wow, this whole Barstool thing is kind of really starting to look like they may be funding Colorado, which is great. Like, I don't, it's not a negative thing at all. I love it. I am team Colorado. I want Coach Prime to be successful. I am planning on going to Utah for the Florida Gator game. And then I'm even thinking about going to Colorado for that first game. My Gator fans hate me right now because of all the Deion content that I make. So in no way, shape, or form am I slandering it at all. And that's why I didn't make a response to your video, because I was like, you wouldn't even hear me out when I commented back. I was like, well, your mind's already made up about me. You won't hear me out, but I'm not. There was never any intent to slander Coach Prime. I promise you that. If there was, I would say, yeah, I was. And look, you don't know me from Adam, right? You see me from a few videos. So could I be lying to you? Sure. And I can't convince you otherwise. All I can do is continue to be who I am, make these conversations, have these talks, and continue to make my videos, and I'll learn from them from time to time, from each video to each video. But that's kind of all I have on that.
I think at the end of the day, I think this is what's going on. John, do you understand what he's saying, and do you accept it or not?
I do understand what he's saying, but about me believing it, I keep that to myself. That's fine. At the end of the day, everybody has their own channel. Everybody has the right to put their content out. And I just feel like if you was one way, why would you go the other way? That was my whole thing. Like, if you was one way, why would you go the other way?
Let me ask you a question. Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Because now you're looking like a hypocrite.
Well, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at right there. Where you're at right there, because he's looking like a hypocrite. Lay out the hypocrite so I can see it.
He's looking like a hypocrite because just a week ago, oh my God, Colorado's bringing in this guy, that guy. Coach Prime is killing it right now. And then Coach Prime is paying players to play. So if you from the outside looking in,
that's where we're getting. That's where we're hung up at. That's where we're hung up. Because it's like if you're married, your wife is like, babe, I didn't mean that. And you're like, you did mean that. We're gonna be stuck there forever. We're not gonna move. We're not gonna get off of that. Because he's clearly stated several times. So
John, your mind's made up. Your mind's made up. You believe that I went and slandered the video. That's fact. There's nothing else I can do. You believe that to be true, and I can't convince you otherwise. So you're not open to having the conversation. But all right, man, I got where you're coming from. Let's move on and let's get past this. You're not. Yeah.
Peace out, bro. Going back under my little cup.
So yeah, okay, I understand. Remember, I think me and John had the same conversation. We had the same issue when it comes to the how we felt the information was delivered. I think that's where we both were at. But then at the end of the day, when it came down to I think let me put my screen back since we're now just two. You were showing half of my wall there. So yeah, I think that's where the maturity comes from. That's where we have to understand where we can all have to open our minds and come. Because I'm not the rebel when it comes to what I like to do. I like to be open-minded. So I'm always going to get the people who are the rebels. They're going to be against me because I'm the open-minded guy. I'm the guy that wants to have that conversation, and I'm ready for change.
Sure.
And Shelton, that's why when I came on your channel, I kept pushing and I kept pressing the issue of understanding the background, right? Because I'm always in the pocket of perspective. If we put it in a perspective bowl, if we wrap it up in a nice little perspective bowl, then we can all understand where this is coming from. So that's why I kept going back to where John is where a lot of people are, because they're upset and they're not willing to move off of that. Sure. They're upset because of the incentive. They're upset because of the concept of, oh, you came for my leader. You see what I'm saying? Oh, sure. You came for my leader, and I don't like that, and I'm not ever going to be cool with you. So that's why I wanted to make sure that we got that.
I think we're on the same page, and that's why I wanted to have the conversation, and that's why I was getting a little frustrated because I was like, look, you're not even listening to me, right? Or speaking to John, and he's not here, so I'm not going to continue to talk, about him because he can't defend himself. But it's like if you don't want to, that's why I said in the beginning, it's like people have already made their mind up. So at some point, I respected you. I respect the fact that you had the conversation. So I wanted to have this conversation with you. Maybe some people watch this and learned a thing or two. Were able to push the needle a little bit further. At the end of the day, I love college football. I love sports in general. That's why I started this show. That's why I do what I do. I ramble. I talk shit. I got my pizzazz about me. You've seen it. That's what I do. At the end of the day, like I said, I know who I am. God knows who I am. So I stay true to myself. That's all that I can ever be. People are going to hate me, going to love me. I can't fix that. But I'm going to continue to preach what I'm going to preach, continue to make my content how I want to make my content. And look, I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to see the comments like, hey, I got to adjust that a little bit. I frustrated a few people. I made someone upset, whatever it may be. Hey, that title was a little clickbaity. Just like everybody else, I'm learning to, walk through life with each passing day and with each mistake. And unfortunately, right now, we're in this weird culture where if somebody, makes a wrong turn and doesn't put their blinker on, they get absolutely railroaded and canceled and they can't move further anymore. And that part sucks too. But I'm going to just keep moving on and passing on, but I do really appreciate you coming on here. I'm hopefully, your people in here, they enjoyed our conversation, but that's all I got for you, man. I don't know if you have anything else that you want to say before we get out of here.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to send the general message and let people understand that we can stay a rebel all we want. And I want people to understand that I'm ready to talk. I'm always going to be ready to talk. I'm that guy. I'm blacker than black. Like, I'm straight up from Africa. I'm Liberian. I'm from West Africa. You can't be blacker than me. Can't nobody from the black community be blacker than me because I am the original black. So you can't out-black me. That's just as simple as that. Nobody's going to out-black me. Nobody's going to do that to me. And I have principles just like Coach Prime has principles. And at the end of the day, I know when I stand on that principle, can nobody shake me. And that's why I came on here. Even people, people were in the comments and they're saying kind of weird things. And I'm like, if you're not ready for change, if you're not ready to have a conversation with Shelton, who's even like you're not the person he's an ally more so than he is somebody who's against. If you can't have a conversation with somebody like Shelton, my God, who are you ever going to have a conversation with? You see what I'm saying? I don't see you as an enemy.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I wanted to get to the point where we understood that, okay, let's meet him at the point where he said, okay, you know what? Maybe that title was a little bit clickbaity. Maybe, I have to adjust a few things and then just leave it at that. But just to stay where we at, nah. That's why I wanted to come on here. And I wanted people to know, if they're going to send the rebel to come in and say, oh, Harry ain't doing what we need him to do, those are the people that's not ready for change. And I'm speaking for the people who really want that change. What I'm about, I'm speaking for those people, those responsible people who say, you know what? At the end of the day, somebody has to speak truth to whatever is going on. Somebody has to stand up for us, but also understand that we have to come to the table. Coach Prime is at the table, and that's where I'm at. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak. And make your videos, man. Talk your talk, shoot your shot. You know what I'm saying? If you say that's what it was, then that's where I meet you at. That's where I'm at with you. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate it, man. And keep making your content. You got some great stuff out there, man. You're going to be past me soon with your high quality work, man. So
I'm coming to get you for sure.
Come on, baby. I love it, man.
I'm coming for you. Just know that I'm coming for you and John. Y'all in my way.
I couldn't agree more, man. I couldn't agree more. That's how it should be. It should be healthy like that. Look,
this is how I eat. So if y'all killing me, so I got to come get y'all, man. I appreciate it though, man. Yo, respect, man. Yo.
For you, man. You as well. I'll keep my eyes out, and when I go to B&H, I'm gonna hit you up for that discount too.
I'm out of B&H. I don't work there no more.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm full time. I'm doing this full time.
Good, man. Good for you. Well, ladies and gents, I appreciate you guys hopping on here. The guys that did hop on here and express their thoughts, and for in the comments as well too. So I appreciate it, guys. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Harry B.